I've created perfect twin player managers in FM24, and in today's video, we're going to follow their careers as they try and balance playing the game and also being a manager, whilst also being the very best at both of those things. It's a silly one, it gets a little bit weird, but it's a lot of fun. Come on. On day one, allow me to introduce you to the first of our perfect player manager twins, and his name is Gary and Phil Neville's. Now, just a reminder, there is no likeness to any specific people in the world. This is purely, it's actually random. This isn't the Nevilles combined. This though is our first perfect twin player manager, and you will notice that he is the manager at Salford, who play in League 2. He is also an amazing footballer, as you can see by this here. I can also show you his staff attributes, which are also completely perfect. He is perfect in every regard, except perhaps I'm not sure you could. Only a mother could love that face. He is a 200 current ability player. He has perfect 200 potential ability as well. He's 20 years old, and we're going to follow his career alongside his twin. And that twin is this man here, Stevie G. Again, there is no likeness to anybody who's a real person. Just going to throw that disclaimer out there. This man, Stevie G, is also a central midfielder, but he's the manager at Tranmere, who also play their football in League 2. Will our managers and key players be able to guide their teams up the divisions, who the rest of the team is completely normal, by the way. They've got players like Kieran Morris, who is distinctly average, compared to Stevie G, who is a wizard. Other than their appearance, their names, and the clubs that they are beginning at, our two twins are completely identical. We're going to go a few seasons at a time, and we're going to try and track their entire careers whilst they are still playing and also managing at the same time, to even going into when they retire from playing and go into being a full-time manager. I think also I want you guys to tell me which of the pair has the best career. I want in the comments down below at the end of the video for you to vote, and we'll see which one you think, because I've already simulated this. They go in very different paths, and those paths, they make it fun. So let's get into it by going to the end of our first season. Oh, before we do go to the end of that first season, a quick plea from me to just say, please subscribe to the channel. Also, thank you so much. We hit 85,000 subscribers recently. It's been a really, really fun start to this journey whilst I'm becoming a full-time creator. Thank you so much for all of your support, but I really want to hit 100,000 subscribers, and I think we can do it. I think you guys can help me to do it. Please hit subscribe, and let's get into the rest of this video. All right, we have, of course, recruited Watching Man to help us to get through this journey here. Here he is. But first of all, let's start with Gary Ann. Gary Ann was at Salford, is still at Salford. Let's see how his team and also Tranmere have done in our first season. Here are the first season stats then, and I've just noticed some things on there. Those are managerial stats, career stats. 46 games, 33 goals, 27 assists, 35 player in the matches. He's got 35 POMs in 46 games, an 8.13 average rating. Obviously, this is going to be the case. They are so good at football, and they're playing in League 2. So this is going to be probably the best of their stats, you'd imagine. But is this amount of goals and assists enough to send them to League 1? And which of the two will have won it then? Let's go to that league. Okay, I've just seen it. The winners of the league are indeed Salford with 103 points. And in second, it was Tranmere with 101. And actually, if you look at the form towards the end of the season, 2 losses for Tranmere and 1 loss for Salford. It was very, very close. But Gary and Phil Neville's has won the league, but both have been promoted. Stevie G in charge here at Tranmere. Let's have a look at his stats in comparison. He got 36 appearances, 28 goals. Is that less appearances? Did he maybe get injuries? Because it was 40-something. I think he played the full 46. Did Gary Ann. However, less for Stevie G and a lower average rating as well, and they've finished second. So far then, it's our Salford twin that has been performing better. I've just seen as well. He is already a favoured personnel. I suppose for the... I wonder if this is different for whether it's a player or a... Like, is he in there because of the managerial stuff he's on or the player stuff? Or is it just both? It's probably just both, to be honest, isn't it? Let's keep an eye on it then. Let's now, I think after that first season, let's go a few seasons into the future, because we've got a lot to get through, because I want to do their playing career and then their staff career after they've retired too. So I'm thinking we're going to go to like 2070 or something like that, hopefully, if my computer can handle processing for that long. Let's go to the end of season number 5 and see how things have progressed. All right, then, here we are, 2028. So 5 seasons have gone past. I'm not sure what I'm expecting here, because there are obviously amazing managers, which should mean that they should be able to do well in the league. I actually think a really good manager in charge of an AI team will actually make that team perform really well. I remember Thomas Tuchel, it always used to be. Whoever appointed him in Football Manager used to be really, really good because he was so good in the game. They've also got an amazing player in their teams, unless they move. And there is this idea that actually, will they go and... Let's just find out. Will they move and become a manager somewhere else? Or will they just become a player somewhere else? I suppose we need to go and find out. Let's start this time. Let's start with Stevie G, because we started with Gary Ann last time, didn't we? Stevie G, 5 years in, is still the manager at Tranmere and is still playing, which is... I'm actually maybe a little bit surprised that that is the case. I did wonder if this was going to work and whether the players would just stop being managers and then become a player somewhere else. So we'll see. He's still the manager here, though, and Tranmere's given himself the number 7 here, and his value is really high. I'm wondering what league this is in. They're in the Championship, because he got himself into the Championship Player of the Season awards there. So, in fact, he won Championship Player of the Season. That means he's beaten maybe Gary Ann to that award, unless Gary Ann has got himself to the Premier League by this stage. It is 42 games, 16 goals. So we did see those best stats in that first season, as you would expect. 21, 21, 20, 16. It's a pretty good first 5 seasons. 214 games, 106 goals. They've gone League 1, League 2, which we saw them finish second. They've gone League 1. They've got first time of asking, they've got themselves promoted. 3 seasons in the Championship. Are they going to the Premier League now? Doesn't look like it, according to that. No, they finished 17th. Now I'm looking in here. Are we seeing Salford in this league at all? We're not. I wonder where they are. Were they in there the year before? Obviously, we'll go to Gary Ann's profile in a second. We'll be able to see. No, Tranmere finished 16th that season as well. So they've also what? They're in the Europa Conference League. Why are they in the Europa Conference League? Hang on. We'll go to Gary Ann in a second. I feel like there's a lot to unpack just by looking at Steven Gerrard. Oh, sorry. That's not who it is. Delete that. Stevie G. Also, I've just noticed he's made Jarrell Quansah his captain, which is quite nice. There's like a little Liverpool link. Again, actually, there's no Liverpool link because Stevie G is nothing to do with Steven Gerrard, is he? Sorry. Quansah's the captain. Let's have a look at landmarks on here, and we can kind of see... They won the Carabao Cup. That's why they're in the Conference League. There's not loads more on here, by the way, just the promotions and then vice captain, etc. They won the Carabao Cup. They beat Sheffield United as a Championship team. They Championship? They're in the Prem. That's pretty cool. Stevie G got top goal scorer in that as well. I wonder where Salford were in this. Were they anywhere in there? No. I mean, I know that we've not really finished looking at Stevie G at this stage. I'm going to quickly look in case he's won other awards in here, and I want to look at his career milestones. Is there anything else that's notable in here? Carabao Cup win, Championship Player of the Season. Got lots of awards in there. There's the promotions. Has he made his England debut? Yeah, he's got 10 caps and got 8 goals for England as well. That's pretty impressive if you ask me. But I am so excited to find out what's happened to Gary Ann then, because we haven't really seen any sign of him there. Gary Ann Phil Neville's. All right. Okay. That's what's happened to him. Gary Ann Phil Neville's is now a Manchester City player, which really goes against the people that they may or may not have been based upon. But either way, he's gone to City and he's no longer a manager. Now, this is actually quite a nice little contrast, actually. This is what I was worrying or thinking that might actually happen. Not that it's a bad thing. They started as managers. They do still have these amazing staff attributes. So they could become managers again at any point, really. He's got a contract until 2030 here. So you'd imagine he stays there until then. It's good that they're not going to sell him. He's the perfect player. But they've brought him in as strictly a player, and he's won the league and he's won the Champions League since his time here. He also got World Player of the Year. Is there a Ballon d'Or in there? Another league win there. Oh, he got sacked by Salford. Right, we need to go to milestones here. He was sacked, which is quite interesting because I did wonder how they managed to get him out, because I put it so their contracts aren't going to expire. So he got sacked by Salford after failing to improve the club's poor financial situation. So they had issues financially. They find themselves in League One. They did go up to Yeah, they're in League One. They went to the Championship for 1 year, got themselves relegated again. So they did rise up, but this was probably after... When did Gary Ann leave? He left there in 2025 after League One Manager of the Season. So maybe he did get them promoted. Did he ever play for them in... He did play for them in the Championship. So he did go back down with them in that Championship season, which is good to know. He got then relegated with them. That's probably where the financial issues came into play. And then from that point, after being sacked, he was just a player manager without a job or a team. And City have picked him up on a free. I mean, what a signing that is. Because of... I mean, when you get sacked as a player manager, do you automatically stop being a player as well? It must have happened like that, right? They've picked themselves up the best bargain ever. That's the best free signing you could possibly ever make. And he's gone on to do quite amazing things. Look, Premier League, Champions Leagues, all sorts in there. But how are we going to decide who's been better in this now? Are we going to give some kudos because Stevie G stayed as the manager and he's took his Tranmere team to the Championship and stayed there? Or are we looking at Gary and Phil Neville's playing career, which is clearly better and he's clearly won bigger things in his career? This is going to be interesting. I think it's set up quite nicely to compare the both of them. Before we continue, I do want to just check. I don't think he has, but has he got anywhere near a golden ball in his time? Kylian Mbappe is still winning it. I say golden ball, it's the Ballon d'Or. Kylian Mbappe is still winning it 3 seasons in a row. If one of them wins this, I feel like that might be a big plus point on their CV, right? Let's go another 5 seasons. 10 seasons it. Look, Stevie G's listed in the top players in the world, but he plays for Tranmere in the Championship. It's outrageous. Let's go 10 more seasons from now and find out what happens. I told you it gets weird. It's so intriguing. Let's go another 5 years. 10 seasons into our respective careers then. Let's start this time with our player rather than our player manager now. Gary and Phil Neville's in the year 2033, still at Manchester City. This was, I think, expected, wasn't it? He is still looking pretty perfect. Not his face. He's 29 now. He's got 58 caps, 25 goals for England. I suppose the question for him is, has he won that Ballon d'Or? He's won the FA Cup and the Premier League again. He has won World Foot. There it is. He has. Oh my word, he's won it 4 times in a row. He's won 4 Ballon d'Ors in a row and came 3rd the year before that. It wasn't in it before. Bukayo Saka won it in 2028 or 27-28. Then Gary and Phil Neville's for 4 years in a row. I just want to see some of these stats. 7.8, that's the best season. 7.87 average rating. 58 games, 31 goals. Gary and Phil Neville's is sweeping up with Ballon d'Ors. Does this put him ahead of Stevie G now, even though Stevie G is the one that's held out as a manager for longest? Let's just check the career stats on here just so you can see how he's been doing. I imagine if we go to milestones as well, he's won the European Football Championships. That's interesting for England. Won the Golden Boot. Did Stevie G play in that team as well? We need to find that one out. We'll go to that in a second. Did win another Champions League. Did win another Champions League there. He's won quite a few. City have won 1, 2, 3, and then 1 before we started. So I think that one actually counts, doesn't it? I think there's 4. I think he's won 4 Champions Leagues in his career and also 4 Ballon d'Ors. But he has deserted his managerial role, even though he is a perfect manager. In fact, he's a perfect at every different job that you may well give him. But obviously, I think I put in his, when I was setting him up in the editor, he prefers to be a manager. So I'm hoping that'll be the case. He's gone from player manager to player here. He's 29, so coming towards the twilight of their careers now. Another 5 years and they'll be 34 and winding things up, ready to take that next step as purely managers. But let's go and see how his rival, his twin, is doing, Stevie G. Oh, wow. I was really expecting him to have moved. He is still the Tranmere manager. Has he won? He's wanted. He's wanted by PSG. I mean, his contract's still not running out. Are PSG going to buy him? Is that possible? That's interesting. Maybe he's just been wanted the entire time, but because he's a manager, he doesn't leave. He is. I mean, they're in the Premier League. He's got Tranmere from League 2 to the Premier League. I've just seen it there. Career stats. They've had 3 seasons in the Prem. Promoted in 2029. Stayed there for 2 years. did get relegated, it seems. He had a really good season when they did get relegated. And now he's back in the Premier League. His average rating is pretty comparable to Gary Ann's as well, isn't it? At 7.8. They are back in the Premier League. Have they stayed there this year? Oh my word, they finished 7th. I thought I was looking down the bottom there to start with. They finished 7th. There's a league win for Gary Ann there, but Stevie G has taken Tranmere from League 2 to a Europa League place here. I'm just going to check. They haven't done... Well, have they won anything else in terms of competitions? If I go to landmarks in here, Championship champions there. They were Carabao Cup runners-up after winning it in 2028. That's sort of it, though. There's that relegation. They've removed Jarrell Quansah as the captain there. They did have a new chairperson with a takeover. They won the championship and then got promoted. Just here are their positions that they finished. 2nd, then they finished 17th, survived. Then they went down in 18th, and now they've just gone back up the year before this. But they've taken a big jump forward and finished 7th this year. So it's quite impressive stuff. This isn't my Liverpool side, by the way. I think I'd be leaning towards giving my best career so far to Stevie G, just because of what he's done for his team. However, it is difficult to argue against those Ballon d'Ors and Champions League wins, isn't it? I think another 5 years and we can see maybe Tranmere can go and challenge at the top there. Maybe if he's in the Premier League now, is he able to challenge for those Ballon d'Ors? Because that could be a big sign, couldn't it? Also, I did want to check, did he win? I mean, he's got 44 caps for England, got 28 goals. So I assume he was part of that World Cup, or was it European Championship winning team? He was, yeah. So England won it in 2032. He got best player and then Golden Boot runner-up because Gary Ann got the Golden Boot, but Stevie G got best player. That's interesting. They must be playing in central midfield together, by the way. Oh, he did get World Footballer of the Year runner-up. Was that to Gary Ann? It was in the most recent season. He is finally showing up in these world individual awards then for the first time, which tells me that maybe in the future he might be challenging for a Ballon d'Or if they both have really good seasons next year. Look at that, by the way. 400. Okay, I thought it was 4-2-1 there. He was a little bit behind in voting points, but actually way ahead of 3rd place, Florian Wirtz there. I don't think he was on there. Oh, he was. He came 3rd this year in 2029. I wonder if that was one of the years they were in the Prem before that as well. Nowhere near on the Ballon d'Or. By the way, Gary Ann Phil Neville's has also won 7 in a row of World Footballer of the Year awards. 4 in a row for Ballon d'Ors. My question is, can Stevie G win a Ballon d'Or? And I suppose, will Gary Ann become a manager again? Let's go to 2038. Okay, so I've actually gone 6 more seasons to the end of 2039's season. So we are 16 seasons into their careers now, which means they should be about 35 and really heading towards when they're going to retire. Let's start with, I think we started with Gary Ann last time. So let's start with Stevie G this time, who is, I love it. I was really hoping that would be the case. He is still the Tranmere manager and he's still a central midfielder for them. Here he is at 35. I'm not actually going back. It's on basically their birthday. So he's about to turn 36, right? Here he is at 35, still a perfect midfielder, still wanted by PSG. They've been chasing him for 6 years. I've just seen here, they are playing in the Champions League. Have they managed to win it? I've also seen here, he's World Player of the Year 3rd, which tells me he's probably not won the Ballon d'Or. But Tranmere have finished in the top 4. They've got themselves into the Champions League here. I want to just see where have they finished most recently. Here are, oh my word, they finished 3rd for 3 seasons in a row. They've actually dropped off this year. They're back down to 8th here. City didn't win the league though. City have won the league every year except for the most recent one, look. The last time they didn't was 2029. They've been pretty dominant with Gary Ann Phil Neville's as their main man, with their best average rating, as you can see here. Stevie G in 3rd. Kind of have seen what Gary Ann Phil Neville's has been up to. He's still at Man City, it seems. Tranmere finished 3rd 3 times in a... Was it 3 times in a row? 1, 2, 3 times in a row when City were winning the league as well. 77 points. Yeah, it's about 77 points each season. 71 in 3rd there. That's... This is hard to call. I'm leaning towards Stevie G just because he's had the managerial career. However, it's really hard to ignore this, how good of a playing career Gary Ann Phil Neville's has had. Maybe it will come down to who has the best, because we're going to go into when they're retired. Maybe Gary Ann Phil Neville's, if he has an amazing managerial career, that will tip it in his favour. We'll see. I really love the story of Stevie G taking Tranmere and making them like one of the competitors in the Premier League. That's pretty cool to me. He has, in his career, played 629 games, 274 goals. Pretty brilliant every single year. The question is, with these Premier League performances, did he win a Ballon d'Or? Let's go to his milestones and just scroll down. Also, what else did he win? World Footballer of the Year, 3rd place. Premier Manager. Oh, look, he got Premier League Manager of the Year. I don't think Phil Neville's would have got that. He got it 3 years in a row, actually. You see, that's another little string in his bow, if you ask me. Did he win a Ballon d'Or, though? He won the Carabao Cup again. They won the Conference League. That's pretty cool. So a European trophy with Tranmere. That's pretty cool. He was in goal. Yes, he did. He won the Ballon d'Or in 2034. It's one Ballon d'Or in amongst a sea of Gary and Phil Neville's winning the Ballon d'Or. It's 1 year, and I don't know what happened to Gary Ann this year because he wasn't even in the top 3. But winner for every other year, Phil Neville's has won it. And is Stevie G even in the top? Stevie G's not even in the top 3 for any of them. So it's like one or the other. It's quite interesting how that is the case. Yeah, he's not in any of these, and then he just randomly wins it this year. And then Gary and Phil Neville's isn't in the top 3. Was that an injury, perhaps? I suppose what we need to do is go across to Gary Ann now and see. Here he is at 35. He's not wanted by anyone. His contract is actually up next year, though. So they've signed a new one for him. Oh, yeah, because I didn't do that contract. They've kept him here. Stevie G's contract is until 2050. Whereas Gary Ann's is an authentic one in the game. So it's up next year. I wonder if that means he'll move. I mean, they might have really long careers because they're still really good. It's not like their physicals are going to stop. I've frozen their attributes because they are perfect in that regard. 121 caps, 46 goals. And if we go to his career stats here, 310 goals in 535 games. Outrageously good. I just want to see what else they won. Champions League, Premier League, got Footballer of the Year. We know how many Ballon d'Ors he's got in that time. England Player of the Year. There's the Ballon d'Or there. They won the league. They won. That's the Euros. Was that again? Did they win the Euros twice? They did. 2032 and 2036. I assume Stevie G also had that on his CV. I'm sure he did because he was still playing as well. 121 caps. How many caps was it for Stevie G? Only 65. Did he actually then? Did he win the European Championships, or has he been phased out a little bit? Just want to check that. I'm not 2032's on there. He wasn't in the team for 2036, was he? That's really interesting to me because it's not like he's any worse at playing. Who's the England manager? That's always really interesting on Football Manager anyway. England manager it's Eddie Howe. Why is he not picking? Can I see what the latest England's team look like? I'm not sure I can really. I can. Stevie G's in it alongside Phil Neville's. That's weird to me. Why has he only got... Maybe he's a sub. Maybe it was one or the other. But you'd think he'd play both because they're both amazing. That's interesting. Almost half of the caps that Gary and Phil Neville's has got himself. Weird. Either way, nothing really... It's just another point that makes it difficult to decide between those because Gary and Phil Neville's England career is so much superior. But Stevie G is still a manager. Let's go again. Let's continue because I'm really intrigued now to see what Gary and Phil Neville's does once he retires. So I'm going to go 5 years into the future, which should see us go over that threshold of playing career to now both being managers and no longer playing. I mean, they might still be playing at 40. I guess we'll find out. Let's go to 2044. All right, then. We are 21 seasons into our twins' careers. We are going to check first Gary and Phil Neville's because I really want to know who he became manager of. Gary and Phil Neville's is the Newcastle manager. That's a pretty cool job for him to get. He is a Salford City legend, which is quite cool to see. His first job... Oh, it's not even his first job. I was going to say his first job in football, or his first managerial job, solely managerial job, is Newcastle. But no, he managed Borussia Dortmund for a year and then is no longer... Okay, he got recruited by Newcastle. So he's been at Dortmund for a year after retiring. Oh, look. He was hired, yeah, so that in 2040, he was released on a free transfer and he obviously retired after this and became Dortmund manager. I'm also noticing that was on the 6th of July and then on the 15th of July, he won the European Championships with England. So he was actually back to being a player manager very briefly because after that, clearly he's retired. I don't know why it doesn't say what date he retired on here, but clearly at the end of that season, he did retire and became solely a manager at Dortmund. I don't think he had any playing appearances for Dortmund, did he? No, he didn't. So he did become a manager. And then after a year at Dortmund, which I'd love to see where they finished, it was 2040, he became the manager. In 2040-41, they finished third. So he had an okay season. It was either third or they did win it in 2042, but he doesn't have that on his CV. So he finished third, did okay, and then Newcastle have made him the manager, and he's already won the Carabao Cup as a manager at Newcastle. I want to see actually what he's playing. What type of system? It's a 4-3-3 that he's playing. Obviously, we're not going to recognise the players because they're all new gens. Also, I'm going to check as well. What staff has he brought in? Is there anyone in here that is a storyline about this? Tim Steidten, the West Ham director of football, technical director, is his technical director. Dan Ashworth is apparently still there at Newcastle, which we know what happened to him, don't we? Paul Scholes, okay, is a scout. Look, Sean Dyche is a scout. I love it when you go so far into a football manager save. Sean Dyche is a scout. Paul Scholes is also a scout. So a bit of a Salford reunion there. Although no, that's not true because this isn't based on Gary and Phil Neville's. This is not what the case is. Anyone else in there? I don't think so. That tells me then that we are going to see hopefully a long managerial career here because he is only, 40 now? He's 40 years old. I wonder what Stevie G's been up to. So far, Gary Ann has only won a Carabao Cup as a manager, right? Will Stevie G, who's been a manager for his entire career, have a new job? He does. I thought he might do because I felt like when he retires, I don't really know how it works, to be honest. Did he retire and then... Oh, no, he did. Look, he did retire as a player, did stay as the manager at Tranmere for a little bit. I was going to say, did he leave immediately? But no, in 2042, he had less than a year as purely a manager, and then he's gone to Kaskiewicz, which is AC Milan. That's a really big job. So, he ended up getting 106 caps. So from between when he was 35 to when he retired, he got 40 more caps in there. That seems like a bit interesting. He had a resurgence in his England career, which is quite fun. So he's had 2 jobs. Tranmere, I really want to know what happened at Tranmere. Why did he leave there? Was it just he was recruited by AC Milan? Yeah, it was. I thought it might be. He won the World Cup. In 2042, he won the World Cup. That's the one that Gary and Phil Neville's also won, or was that the European Championship? I think that was the World Cup. They've both got a World Cup on their CV, I'm pretty sure. He's then been a bit sad, really, that he left Tranmere after all that time. Tranmere ended up, they are still in the Premier League. Did they ever win the Premier League? No, they finished second twice. Oh, my word. And I guess this is before he left as well. They finished second twice, then 6th, then most recently 7th, and they've got Ryan Mason as the manager now. He went to AC Milan. When he was there, he's won the Super Cup, the Italian Cup, and Serie A. He's got a Serie A Most Valuable Coach. He's got Manager's Manager of the Year, which is pretty good, and he's won Serie A in the second season there too. So 2 consecutive titles as a manager with AC Milan. What's better here? A 1 season at Dortmund and then off to Newcastle, or is it 1 season with Tranmere? Or I don't even know. It probably wasn't even a whole season, was it? If we go to milestones here, how long was he solely a manager? It's difficult to tell. It was on the August. It's like a month of being manager, I think. Because when did he stop playing? 2042, and then he became purely manager, and immediately AC Milan picked him up. So I suppose they've just seen that. I suppose a bigger reputation team has seen that he's now available and can actually move, and then the AI has made it work in that way. Very interesting. I wonder now what Gary and Phil Neville's can do with Newcastle. I wonder if there'll be any more movement. I think we're going to see 2 really competitive careers as purely managers now. Let's go another 5 years. Okay, so I've actually gone 9 years into the future here. It's 2053, and I'm very intrigued to see what's become of our 2 managers now. We had Gary and Phil Neville's as the manager at Newcastle, and Stevie G was the manager at Kaskiewicz, AC Milan. Let's go first to Stevie G and see where he is. He's at Newcastle. We've had some type of swapping. They've almost maybe ran into each other. Imagine one was manager and one was assistant manager. It's never happened, but they've actually... Okay, Stevie G is now the Newcastle manager. So we've had the first time that we've had both of them. We can actually compare how they did whilst managing the same team a little bit here, which also does mean that Gary and Phil Neville's has moved on somewhere else. I wonder why he's left. Usually I think it's, well, I don't know, maybe they will be sacked. I suppose I was more expecting them to be picked up by other teams. But Newcastle, after AC Milan, we now have Stevie G here. Let's go to the milestones, which is, I think, going to be our most important tab here to see what he's won during those past, was it 9 years? So from 2044 is when we were last here. Since then, he won the Serie A, 3rd in a row. He won the Serie A again, 4th in a row. They won the Italian Cup. He did win a Champions League with AC Milan. Now, that feels significant. He hadn't won one before, had he? No. A Champions League win with AC Milan is a really nice thing to add to your CV. Well done, Stevie G. He also won the Super Cup. He also, here, look, was the Club World Championship winners. So the best team in the world. The other teams that have won that are Chelsea, then AC Milan, Inter Milan before that. City did win it in 2033. So that would have been when Gary and Phil Neville's was a player. But since managerial, unless Gary and Phil Neville's is the Chelsea manager, it looks like just Stevie G is there to win it so far, which is interesting. Then in 2049, he did leave Newcastle because he agreed terms with another club. Newcastle brought him in. I actually wonder, what is his weight? I'm on £155,000 a week. I did wonder if that was just going to be massive and that's why he's agreeing to come here. But maybe Newcastle are really good. We are in 2053 here and the players are now 50 years old. I have set it, by the way. We're going to go until they're 60. They are going to retire at 60 years old. So we're going to have another 10 years of these careers to go and check out before we call it a day. I'm going to now go across from Stevie G to Gary and Phil Neville's, who is the Chelsea manager at this stage. Wow. Okay, so we left him and he was the Newcastle manager, right? Since then, the first thing that I'm noticing on here is that he has had a whole host of jobs. After leaving Newcastle, he's been Spurs, Stuttgart, Hoffenheim, Lyon, and now Chelsea manager. I mean, he's come back and he's at a huge club again now. But those teams in there, Stuttgart, Hoffenheim, Lyon, that doesn't strike me as a manager who is performing at the very, very top level. It doesn't strike me as a manager that has these attributes should end up being at those clubs, unless they've ended up being really good in the save, which I suppose is a possibility. Let's go into this milestones tab here and find out what's gone on there. So after Newcastle, and they won that Champions League, he left them to go to Spurs because he agreed terms to join. So he wasn't sacked there. He won the league with Spurs. Fair play. Do you know what? Actually, that is a big tick in the side of voting for Gary and Phil Neville's, I'd probably say. He was then sacked, though, which is a big tick in the Stevie G column. So he's kind of undone himself there a little bit. He was sacked due to their poor league position. Obviously, I can't go and see that because it will show me the end of the season. But that was on the 1st of December as well. So really quite before the halfway point in a season, he got himself sacked. He was hired as Stuttgart manager and won the German Cup. And oh my word, he was sacked again. But once again, having a poor league position. That's not great, is it? He then carried on in the Bundesliga with Hoffenheim before he agreed terms with Lyon, who was there for a year. And then he went to Chelsea. So he's kind of jumped around a bit, maybe to try and get his career back on track. And then looking at this here at Chelsea, it looks like he has got it back on track because he's won the league twice. He's won the Premier League in 2051 and the Premier League in 2053 with 2 Carabao Cup wins in there as well. Maybe he's back on track. This spell here makes me think that Stevie G's better. But after that, and now for the next 10 years, maybe it'll be that Gary and Phil Neville's is better. This is really hard to call. I genuinely think that. Let's go another 10 years. Let's go to retirement day and find out. I'll get you guys to help me choose because I'm not even sure if I'm going to be able to. Let's go until they are 60 years old in 2063. And here it is, 2063. It's 40 seasons into this simulation. We have gone far into the future here to see the outcome of this one. And we will start. Let's start with Gary Ann this time because we finished with him last time. He is now 60 years old, as you can see. He is now the Real Madrid manager. Oh, that is a big one. That is a huge job. Possibly the biggest job of either of our managers throughout their careers. Of course, we don't know what Stevie G has done at this point, but that is a huge job. 150k a week. Before that, I thought he'd settled at Chelsea, but no, he's been England manager, Bayern Munich manager, Aston Villa manager, and then most recently Real Madrid manager. He's been at Real Madrid for 3 years at this point. He was at Villa for a year, Bayern Munich for a year, England for 2 years, and he did spend 6 years at Chelsea when we saw a few of them before we continued, didn't we? Let's go to milestones and see what's gone on with those, because after winning the league twice, it was that we saw with Chelsea, he did win a Champions League Very nice. He resigned as Chelsea manager to become the England manager. Now, that is a big job. He was there for 2 years, didn't win anything, and then was sacked. So that's not great, is it? He became Bayern manager. He's not won the league with Bayern. That's a year later. So it's 1 season complete. He's failed to win the league at Bayern Munich. That is not great, considering the attributes that he's got. Not really sure what's happened there. He was recruited by Aston Villa and then won the Europa League, which is pretty cool. And then he left them to join Real Madrid, which you'd probably expect. He's been at Real Madrid for 3 years, hasn't won a Champions League. He has won the league this season. Yeah, 4 days ago he did win La Liga, which is, okay, he finally got himself. That means 2 years without winning La Liga, though. Barcelona won it for a couple of years, look. That's... Looking at the clubs that he's been at, I was expecting a few Bundesligas here, maybe a few more Champions Leagues. Real Madrid to not win a Champions League, I think that's almost a little bit disappointing. Would you agree? Let's leave Gary and Phil Neville's. His lasting impression for you guys is to have a look at his career stats here. 1,340 games played, a 59% win percentage, and he won himself 11 cups, 6 leagues, and two promotions in his time. You can see all of the other stats there in case you wanted to see. We're now going to go and compare him to Stevie G, who is at... Oh, wow. He's at Chelsea. Stevie G has done it again. He went to Newcastle after Gary and Phil Neville's. He's now gone to Chelsea after him. Oh, okay. And he's actually only been at those clubs. He's only had 4 clubs in his entire career. He seems way more loyal. And remember, these were exact clones of one another. So their loyalty attribute will be the same and it will be 20. But Stevie G has only moved to AC Milan, then to Newcastle, and now to Chelsea. I'm assuming, well, maybe I shouldn't assume. We're going to check to see. I assume that he's sort of agreed terms with a new club rather than been sacked. But I guess we'll have a look at that in a second. Now at Chelsea, he's been there for 4 years. He was at Newcastle for 10 years, 7 years at AC Milan, and then, of course, from 2023 until 2042 at Tranmere. He will have a lot more games managed, you'd imagine. Let's check that milestones tab to begin with. Are there any Champions Leagues in here from Newcastle onwards? He stayed there a while, so it's maybe a few overlapping. I can't remember if this was part of it. I think we saw this Champions League, and then they were in a Champions League final after, which it looks like they've lost. It was against AC Milan. So if AC Milan won the Champions League in 2053, he lost that final. They did. Yeah, AC Milan won it in 2053, so he lost against his old club there. That's got to hurt, hasn't it? After that, though, after 2053, which is where we were, he won the league with Newcastle. He won the league again the year after, and then he left to become Chelsea manager. Okay, he wasn't sacked. I don't think he has a single sacking in his career, does it? He doesn't. He's never been sacked. Interesting. At Chelsea, he did win the league in 2062, and he did win the FA Cup a couple of times. No Champions Leagues with Chelsea as of yet. Champions League winners over the years. Leeds have won it most recently, which is quite fun. AC Milan have won it a couple of times too, and that's after Stevie G has been the manager there. That, though, is kind of the end of our story. I will leave you by showing you the overview page for Stevie G as well. You can see way more games in charge. 2,308. A better win percentage, even though he's got more games as well. That could be quite significant. He's also won 22 cups, got 10 leagues, 4 promotions, and then, of course, that relegation with Tranmere before he came back up to the Premier League. Who are you going to vote for? I'm going to leave it up to you because I actually don't really know. There's so many things to consider, like the Ballon d'Ors that Gary and Phil Neville's won, but also the loyalty that Stevie G won. They got probably a similar amount of Champions League wins and in there, I'd probably say. A few more cup wins for Stevie G, but how much weight do they hold? It's kind of up to you, I think. And that's what I'm going to leave it up to you to tell me. Please let me know in the comments down below, who is your vote for? Is it for Stevie G or is it for Gary and Phil Neville's? Who has been the better twin from this experiment? I've enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun actually looking. I do actually want to check before. How are Tranmere doing now? Okay, they're getting relegated. They've been relegated. That's sad, isn't it? I mean, compare that to Salford. Where are Salford these days? They're in League One. They finished 3rd, which means unless they won the playoffs, they'll be staying there. They didn't win the playoffs. Wigan have won the playoffs. So they're not going to meet again, but it's going to be Tranmere in the Championship and then Salford in League One. Just wanted to kind of check in where they were because that's where they started, isn't it? Let me know who's won. Also, leave me a comment if you've got to the end of the video, because I just like to do this because it's quite an interesting experiment to see who are the people who are watching to the very end, because you're the best. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. Leave me a squirrel emoji. No, is there there is a squirrel emoji, right? Leave me a squirrel emoji for no other reason than it will look weird and people will see them and go, why is everyone doing this? Thank you very much for watching though. I really, really genuinely do appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, please do subscribe, because we've got loads of videos that we can do like this. Let me know your ideas in the comments down below. And also, if you want to support, if you want to get your hands on this save file, please go and join the Claytron. We'll leave it at that though for today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, have a lovely, lovely rest of your day. I appreciate you guys. See you soon. Bye-bye.